Good morning, open heart family. Namaste. The divine within me honor, celebrates, and acknowledges the divine within you. Good morning. So our September theme is my spiritual toolbox. How thankful I am to use all the tools in my spiritual toolbox to condition my mind and live from my brilliance. And so my talk title today is Tools for Your Toolbox. And our talk text, or the text that is the foundation for where we will go today, is Galatians 5:23. But the Holy Spirit produces this kind of fruit in our lives: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There is no law against these things. So we have a pear tree in our backyard. You can't tell it's a pear tree from the back door or from the patio or from the pool, but of course the closer you get, you'll start to see the pears on the ground and then the pears on the tree. That old saying that the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree, because the fruit is the evidence of what the tree is. And for those of us who assert that we are spiritual or living in alignment with spiritual principles, there should be evidence, fruit that supports that assertion. Today's text, which are the fruit of the Spirit, that there are 9 fruits or 9 blooms which give evidence that you and I are living our lives in alignment with higher spiritual principles. So there's the fruit, but there is the seed or the plant that produces that fruit. And so today I want to spend the rest of the time we have together talking about seeds, or the plant that are the spiritual tools that we need to be in our toolbox to produce evidence that we are creating and living our lives from a place of oneness with Spirit, from our Christ consciousness. So I want to talk about 4 tools that are must-haves in our spiritual toolbox. All right, the first tool is oneness, the consciousness of oneness. The manifest universe is the body of God. All people are incarnations of one Spirit. This is a consciousness, not an ontological understanding or something you say out of your mouth, but it is something that is a part of how you live, move, and have your being in this world. An understanding that there is no one or no thing different from you, for God is all there is, and God includes everything, all possibility, all action, for Spirit is the invisible essence and substance of all form. So whether it's someone you like or someone you dislike, a consciousness of oneness says that even in the midst of that person I dislike, God is there. And so I will take the time to listen, understand, and send love. Even if I have to keep a distance from them, I still understand that God is present in them, that God is present in this circumstance, that God is present in this diagnosis from the hospital. I still know that God is in the midst of this, and that this concept of a oneness consciousness is not some new age, new thought thing, but right here from the Tanakh, right out of the rule book of the Old Testament. The Hero Israel, the Shema. Hero Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And what I told my students when I would teach Old Testament survey, that here in English you see the 3 letters of O-N-E and how many other letters are in the Hebrew word, but in the text it's the number 1, that singularity, that of everything and anything, it is all God. All God. And if we have that consciousness, the challenge we're going through, the sickness we're going through, the development we're going through, the goodness we're going through, the abundance we're going through, the joy we're going through, it's all one. It's all God, because we have that oneness consciousness. So the next one, I'm just going to say change. Change is a part of living, moving, and having your being as a Christ-filled person, operating from that higher consciousness, that oneness consciousness. And it's a part of how we interact and move and bring our light and presence into this world. Ernest Holmes says, nature will not let us stay in any one place for too long. She will let us stay just long enough to gather the experience necessary to the unfolding and the advancement of the soul. This is a wise provision. For should we stay there too long, we would become too set, too rigid, too inflexible. Preach on it, Ernest. Nature demands change in order that we may advance. And I know that Bishop Gilmore, John Gilmore, and any other preacher here knows that if you go to the church board meeting and say you want to do something new, that you change. I'm just going to leave it at that. But I know it's probably a secret us preachers need to keep to ourselves. But oh, you want to change something in the church? But change is a part of spiritual development. It's how you grow. It's how you evolve. We are continuously living a new life, and when the old and the new do not fit nicely together, the old, no longer able to contain the new, should be discarded. I remember I did a message very similar about that God is about the new, and that it can be hard. It's lovely in our comfort zone, but there's no growth there. And sometimes fear masked as being controlling or judgmental. It's really that fear of stepping out into that comfort zone. This is about having, again, a oneness of your consciousness. That new thing is just another part of the one demonstrating itself, and we can open our hearts to that. New is what God do. Behold, from Isaiah, I will do a new thing. Now shall it spring forth. Shall you not know it? I will even make a road in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. The text for my very first sermon, my first Sunday as the senior pastor at Bethel AME Church. And this is the truth that I have watched spirit where there was dryness and nothing bring newness, and in the desert bring a flow. And so, but you got to be willing to change. You have to have an eye open to see it different than how you or I may have expected it. But with that oneness consciousness comes an understanding to be ready to flow, to groove, to evolve, to change. And then abundance. Abundance is a part of who we are as spiritual people. We must be convinced that abundance is the natural state of the universe. To experience and accept abundance in our life, we must be convinced that as we conceive and believe, the universe handles the details. The challenge is that many of us do not know how to receive. Abundance is mine. I cannot be deprived of my supply. The trees do not lack for leaves, nor do the flowers fail to bloom. This concept of receiving, that everything we want and need is already present in our consciousness, and it's receiving that and pulling that to us and then releasing it to come about in the way that is for our highest good, is how we live in abundance. And I'm not talking about the American Western way of things. I got things. I got a lot of things. I got so many things. It means I'm abundant. No, it means you might be a hoarder, right? I mean, I'm right now, I'm got just put together new thing, got stuff from Amazon, trying to clear and organize, clear out my closet. You know that when we think we're broke, some people wish they were that rich. So abundance financially, but abundance of an understanding of our oneness with the divine, and having an understanding that we can have good and that we can prosper and that we can be successful. Not about faking and flexing, but really having an abundance of joy in our life, an abundance of healthy ways of communicating, an abundance of allowing our true self to shine. Success and prosperity are spiritual attributes belonging to all people, and that it is a part of living a Christ-filled life. John 10:10. The thief has come to kill, steal, and destroy, but the Christ has come that you and I may have life and have it more abundantly. Living our best life, living in joy, living in health, living in wealth, living in our spiritual life and a connected, creating, healing, making room for miracles. That is a must-have tool, abundance, in our toolbox. And as I bring this to a close, this being my message, right, that of course, I'm going to talk about love. Love is at the center of our being and the calm, continuous pulsations of life. are governed by love. But I want to talk about, what am I talking about when I say love? I think many people grew up in unhealthy homes or dysfunctional homes, or you were involved in relationships that were toxic or violent. And so we're not sure what love is. I always say, when Master Teacher Jesus said, let me sum up all the 600 rules that came out of the 10 Commandments. Love God, love your neighbor, and love yourself. Love your neighbor like you love yourself. And that begins the problem in my mind, because we don't love ourselves. And so the neighbors get that, and God gets that. But when I'm talking about love, I'm coming straight from 1 Corinthians 13. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wrong. Means doesn't hold grudge. Love does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up. Love never loses faith. Love is always hopeful and endures through every circumstance. That's what I'm talking about when I say that love is a must-have, essential tool for our spiritual toolbox, and that it is the center of our being. I remember using this next verse when we marched in the Pride Parade in 2019, I guess it was, when those people were there saying, quoting all those verses about gays are going to go to hell or whatever, which I don't think is even a verse in the Bible, but I hit them back with this. 1 John 4:7-8. Dear friends, let us continue to love one another, for love comes from God. Anyone who loves is the child of God and knows God. But anyone who does not love, and that's this list of things of not judging and not being rude, right? So you're yelling all these horrible things at people at the Pride Parade. But anyone who does not love does not know God, for God is love. And that sentence, for God is love, is written like a mathematical equation. That is really an equal. Love is such an important part. And if you got God, right? God, if you got God, you have to love. You have to love people you disagree with. You have to love people you don't like. You don't have to hang out with them. But there has to be love. And love is the center of our being, as Ernest Holmes says. And then, of course, I use this quote nearly every time I use Ernest Holmes' words, because there's such a powerful truth here. Love is within us. It cannot be destroyed. It can be ignored, and to the extent that we abandon love, we feel it has abandoned us. Denying love is our only problem, and embracing it is the only answer. Through the power of love, we can let go of past history and begin again. Love heals, love forgives, and love makes whole. I love that quote. That's why I use it every time. 4 consciousness, 4 ways of being, 4 ways of interacting, connecting, and showing our Christ consciousness, oneness, change, abundance, and love. Get these 4 tools in your toolbox and continue to be and become a more evolved, a bigger shining light, and a beneficial and transformative presence on this planet. Have a beautiful Sunday. God bless.